We're now going to make our predictions for week 2.
Yeah, the Lions have no chance in this division. Let's be honest.
Okay. Calm the hell down. A playoff team, maybe.
Shut up. Just shut the hell up.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the WNP podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson. Join me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty swell as always. 5-0 this week in fantasy. Can't complain. I can complain. You're gonna hear me complain, that's for sure. But in terms of fantasy, I can't complain. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I got a modest 2-2, and this season I'm taking a more hands-off approach to fantasy football because, geez, the last couple of years, it's just been a stress-induced Sunday for me. So after I set my lineup, I just refuse to look at fantasy until games are over on Sunday, and then again on games, or when games are over on Monday. Chase, right now it is 1:35 in the morning. We just got done watching the Broncos and the Titans game. For those of you that are interested in hearing what we're talking about today, review of week 1 games, predictions, week 2 games. Pretty simple. Chase, let's hop right into it. Broncos, Titans. We just got done watching that game. I said we were going to talk about the Lions and the Bengals first because those are our teams. We got a lot to say about them. But we got to talk about that Titans-Broncos game first. It was a brutal one.
Yeah, so you said we can swear in this episode, correct?
Oh, yeah. Quick warning to anyone that isn't a fan of swearing in that. This is going to be an explicit episode. A lot to talk about here and a lot of profanities likely to be used. So let's get it started, Chase. Titans, Broncos.
What a shit fest. What a horrible game. Oh my god. Steven Gostkowski, more like, holy shit, go to the retirement home, you're garbage. But he did come in clutch at the end of the game. I'll give him that. So at the end of the day, that game-winning kick makes up for all the rest. But he's missing these kicks, dude, that like his whole career, he's just never missed these. I know he's older. He's a Hall of Fame kicker. He's old as dirt. But like he still should not ever miss these. No kicker should miss these kicks in the NFL. And this whole game was just boring. The offenses just weren't really getting it going. I mean, the Broncos defense, like they were looking like pretty awesome against the Titans. Derrick Henry, he couldn't really get much going. He had some big runs, of course, like Derrick Henry will, but nothing like his 99-yard run all those years ago. But man, this game was just brutal. AJ Brown did not too much, which I want to talk about that play right at the end, that challenge right before the 2-minute warning. Because of that challenge, I won my one fantasy matchup by 0.4 points, where I would have been losing by 0.1 if that stood. So shout out Vic Fangio. But after that, Vic Fangio, what the hell are you doing? You spend, you got the last under 2 minutes, you're up by 1. They're in prime field goal range. Even if Gostkowski did miss all those kicks, you can't assume he's going to miss from that close, and you just don't spend your timeouts, and you get no time to drive down the field. Like it's pathetic.
It is, and I got a quick question. Gostkowski nails that game-winner field goal. Does that save his job, or are the 3 field goals and 1 extra point missed prior to that enough to can him?
I bet he's there week 2. Given his status and his name, who he is, plus and like he ended up redeeming himself with that game-winning kick, I bet he's there week 2.
All right, makes sense. Terrible game for Gostkowski. The first thing that I noticed in this game, or the first point I want to bring up after watching this game, the Titans are not a contender this year. They're not the contender that we saw last year make it to the AFC Championship. Derrick Henry is looking like pre-2019 Derrick Henry, who I have bashed for many, many years. He's not, I don't know what it was in this game. I'm sure he can pick it up. I sure hope he does because I have him in one of my fantasy leagues. But the guy was too busy worrying about cutting to the outside, making some jukes, trying to make the flashy play when he's like 6'3", 290 pounds. Like, dude, just freaking bull rush him. It doesn't make sense. So he's got to get that through his head. That's what he was doing last year. That's what made him so successful. Get that done. Another thing I want to bring up is the receivers that we're so excited to watch. Cortland Sutton, he was not playing this game due to health. A.J. Brown, we're excited to watch him come back after his amazing rookie season. Jerry Jeudy, excited to watch him too, because he was the second wide receiver off the board, a very talented wide receiver coming out of this draft class. But I would argue that the most talented and best looking wide receiver on the field tonight was Corey Davis, a name that you and I absolutely love. Corey Davis. He hasn't done anything. And then this game, he shows, you know what? Maybe we should have a little bit more faith in him. He's a big body. He made a lot of nice plays tonight. And without him, the Titans don't win this game.
Oh, I agree. And I would love to talk about Corey Davis. So this dude, there's a reason I traded for him in Johnny's Dynasty League, because he's got way too much talent to have done what he's done so far in his career. So he's last couple years, he dealt with injuries and then rehabbing, trying to, he spent also, the beginning of the season working with Mariota the whole time last year when Tannehill was the number 2, Mariota was the number 1. So Tannehill was a little more used to throwing to A.J. Brown, who was still kind of in that, second team range at that point. So when Tannehill goes in, A.J. Brown becomes his guy, and Corey Davis is kind of forgotten about. But Corey Davis has had, granted it was a shortened offseason, he's had the offseason to work with Tannehill, and Corey Davis looked awesome. He was getting open, he was making great catches, he's being the receiver that we all expected him to be when he was a 5th overall pick. And I'm really not surprised at all. The fact that he got his, or did not get his 5th-year option picked up, I feel like he's, bound to go leave free agency, and I think he might not have a monster year this year, but he's going to have a good enough year to get paid and then dominate wherever else he goes.
Yeah, I think his next team is going to be very lucky to have him. He's very talented. Ryan Tannehill, not the quarterback to make a wide receiver fantasy relevant, not the quarterback to make the wide receiver look just absolutely unreal. And Mariota wasn't before Ryan Tannehill came in. So I think Corey Davis is going to have a really good rest of his career once he leaves this Titans team. Wanted to go back to Derrick Henry real quick, just bring up his stats to back up my point. 31 carries, 116 yards with only a 3.7 average. He was over a 5 average last year. So absolutely brutal game from him. And I don't really think you can put that on the great Broncos defense. They were without Von Miller, obviously. Bradley Chubb, he was in the game, but it did seem like he was quite limited. I didn't hear his name whatsoever while watching the game. Derrick Henry just couldn't really get it done. He even got blown up by, what was it, Joey Jules? Or
Josie Jewell.
There we go, Josie Jewell. So you can't be seeing that if you're a Derrick Henry fan. Also wanted to talk about how the Broncos, again, they were without those two big, or the one big name, Von Miller, and then Bradley Chubb was pretty limited. They also lost Chris Harris in the offseason to the Chargers. They lost Aqib Talib in this game. This should have been a pretty easy win in my mind for the Titans. They barely snuck out a victory. And the Broncos, you can't give up yet, obviously. A tough loss here, but you're going to get players back. Obviously, Cortland Sutton, he's going to be coming back. KJ Hamler is going to be coming back. Bradley Chubb can only get healthier. I don't really think Albert O makes that much of a difference, though. So we'll see.
He's going to make more of a difference than you expect. He's going to make more difference than you expect. I'm not saying he's going to be just like dominant, but he was Drew Lock's favorite target in college. So Drew Lock is definitely excited to have him there. He's going to make more of an impact than some people think. I know there are other people that are in the same boat as me, though, who thinks that he will have a pretty solid impact once he can get healthy. But I do want to talk about real quick on this Broncos defense. It was the AJ Johnson show, dude. This guy was just awesome, all over the field, making great plays. And, I mean, he was probably the star of the game, for my money. And then also, coming off of what you were saying, that it should have been an easy win for the Titans. It should have been. They should have looked better than they did. It's never easy going into Denver, playing a game because of the altitude, especially when that's your first game action in, 8 months since there was no preseason. So that is tough. But regardless, you got to look better than you did. I know you're gassed, but there's still plenty of Denver guys that are in the same boat because they're new to the team. They're still not used to that altitude either. Guys like Melvin Gordon and Jerry Jeudy, they're brand new. They're not used to it yet. So Tennessee, yeah, they should have looked better. But at the end of the day, they get the win. Just take them as you can get them, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And the Broncos, they lose Philip Lindsay in this game. They're just getting banged up all over the place. So, hoping for health for the Broncos, and they're still a sleeper team for me. I think they can make the playoffs. I think they can be a good team. Obviously, with 7 teams making the playoffs now, it's more likely. I'm just going to keep hoping for them. Hope they can get things together. But the two main things that I take away from this: Vic Fangio, what the fuck are you doing? And the Titans,
Moron.
yeah, and then the Titans, you better figure something out because if Derrick Henry isn't leading this offense, I don't think Tannehill is going to be able to do what he did today against many other teams. All right, Chase, let's now move on. Talk about your Detroit Lions. Tough game, I know. I want to get all the emotion out, though, early so we can just move on from it. Obviously, they go up big, up 23-6 going into the fourth quarter. They have another collapse, another on top of the many that they had last season. First, let me hear some positives through those first 3 quarters, and then you can go ahead and just blow up about that fourth quarter.
I mean, the positives through the first three, the D was playing better than I expected them to. This is a pretty weak D core, and then losing Jamie Collins because he got kicked out for making a stupid play. And then losing cornerbacks to injury, not having Jeff Okudah, your third overall pick in the first place. This D played pretty well. I know it's against Mitch Trubisky, and, David Montgomery and Cordell Patterson were the ones running the ball, which David Montgomery's a little shaken up, but Cordell Patterson's our wide receiver. So it should have been, a pretty good outing by this defense, and it was for the first 3 quarters, and then coaching, kind of falls apart there in the fourth. Like, really those, and then Adrian Peterson looking pretty good for being with the Lions for such a limited time. Like, those are my only good takeaways. So do you want me to move around to the bad? Or?
Well, quickly, I want to talk about Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson looked absolutely phenomenal for the Lions, and it really did make that offense as a whole better because now Stafford could throw in some play actions, and the defense wouldn't quite know what exactly they're doing because Adrian Peterson was so good in that game. So I think this offense is going to be much better as it goes on. The defense looked solid, I guess, against the Bears, which isn't really saying much, but I think it all comes down to coaching. And we will truly see if Patricia is the guy with this season because the offense has it now, I think. But yeah, go ahead. Go talk about just the absolute implosion of the Lions in the fourth quarter.
These fucking motherfuckers. The damn Lions, they do this shit all the time. I literally, as the fourth quarter started, they showed a stat on the broadcast that showed the amount of fourth quarter blown leads Lions have had in the last 10 years, and they were last place in the league. I'm like, oh, great, that's an awesome stat to show as we're going to the fourth quarter with a big lead. Sure enough, the Lions blow it. Like, could talk about just poetic justice, just absolutely brutal. Coaching, they did a horrible job. I don't know why in the fourth quarter you change away from your game plan that's worked all game. I sure you want to run the clock, you don't want to throw the ball as much, but if you have a game plan that's working, you're stupid to change it. Any sport, doesn't matter if it's football, hockey, basketball, baseball, cricket, soccer, I don't care. If you have a game plan and it's working, you don't change it. And it was working for the Lions. They're running the ball well. They're passing the ball well enough. They're playing strong enough on defense in order to hold the Bears to pretty much nothing for the first 3 quarters. And then they change it up, and it all goes down the shitter. This happened all the time last year. This happened in that Cardinals game that ended in a tie because the Lions just decided to play high school football in the fourth quarter of that game. I don't get what the logic is. I don't know why. I don't know if this is a Matt Pat thing. I don't know if this is on the coordinators. I don't know what this is, but it's 100% on coaching. And obviously, the play that's sticking out a lot of people's mind, the DeAndre Swift drop ball. I don't want to blame a rookie. His first NFL game, he is a running back. I know he's a pretty good catcher for a running back, but he's still a running back. It's not his main job. I want to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He should have not been in that situation in the first place. His team should have been winning at that point in the game, but they blew it. So, don't rag on this guy. Cut him some slack. He's going to be an awesome player for the Lions this year and for many years. So really, at the end of the day, it's coaching and same old Lions.
Absolutely agree with you there. Swift, he's going to bounce back. Trust me on that. He's going to be a very good player for the Detroit Lions. I agree. He shouldn't have been in that situation. There was coaching that really failed the team as a whole. I really think you said it perfectly. I don't really have anything else to add. I guess a question right now, if it's if it's the off season right now, Matt Patricia's gone, I would assume. Like let's just say that you knew this was going to happen a couple months ago. Is he gone?
Yeah, probably. As much as I want to support Matt Patricia, like you can't. Even if it is something that's on the coordinators are still under the head coach's watch. This is a head coach responsibility. You can't blow games like this. It's just flat out inexcusable.
Absolutely, and you got some tough ones coming up too. Next week, you're at Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers, so gonna be hard to bounce back. But I feel the same way for the Bengals. This team was terrible in the first. No, this offense was terrible in the first three quarters. Joe Burrow had a nice, I think it was 23 or 26-yard rushing touchdown. Nice play there by him. But gosh, they couldn't get anything clicking on offense, and that's unbelievable with Joe Burrow at the helm and the amount of weapons that the Bengals had. A positive I could take away, though, is A.J. Green. He definitely looks like the number one receiver now, had the most targets from Joe Burrow. But I wanted to talk about the media as a whole and how they're portraying this game. They're saying that Joe Burrow was amazing. You have a franchise quarterback in Cincinnati, and you know what? Joe Burrow got bangled. If it wasn't for him being on the Bengals, he would have had a flawless victory in his first game in the NFL. Shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me? If you don't have Trey Hopkins block for Joe Burrow, that's a sack. If you don't have Joe Burrow overthrowing A.J. Green and John Ross in the end zone, you'll win the game. Like, I love Joe Burrow, and he did look good. He had a solid debut. But he came out and said it. He goes, hey, I give myself a D for that game. I overthrew AJ in the end zone. I overthrew John Ross in the end zone. I need to do a lot better. And, I mean, I agree. At the same time, I love what I saw out of him. But I just think that the media going at the Bengals and putting no blame whatsoever on Joe Burrow is ridiculous. And then, of course, you got Fat Randy, as Big Cat calls him, fakes an injury as he misses the game-tying field goal. I don't know. It was an incredibly frustrating game. Joe Burrow, interception late in the fourth. Mixon, fumble early in the fourth. First fumble since 2018. It was... The amount of frustration I had was just unbearable.
I'm going to put it this way. Everything that could have went wrong, went wrong. When it came time for the Bengals to try to clutch up and win it, Joe Mixon fumbles, Fat Randy misses the kick. There's that, A.J. Green touchdown that's called back. In my opinion, I really want to talk about that play because I get that technically that is pass interference. When you're in those moments of the game, like it's borderline ticky-tacky for me. Just let those plays go. The push-off wasn't major enough to really just give A.J. Green this massive benefit. It was still a pretty close play. I'd say 60% of the time that doesn't even get called in the first place because the NFL likes to miss pass interferences. So why call it right there in that moment of the game? I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you there. I didn't really want to bring it up because I don't want to be that fan who's like, oh, the refs cost us. But you have two Pro Bowlers going at each other one-on-one. Let them play. There's only 7 seconds left in the game. Let them play. Let them do what they're going to do. Unless it's egregious, which I didn't think it was, let it go. So, I don't know.
I do want to mention also really quick. I thought Joe Burrow looked like good, not great. He looked about as good as a rookie quarterback can look in his first game on a team that finished as bad as they did last year with a horrible offensive line.
I think that if you take away that last quarter, we aren't talking as highly of Joe Burrow. However, that fourth quarter, he looked immaculate. He looked better than Baker Mayfield already. Baker Mayfield was absolutely terrible. Again, we'll get on to that. Last thing I want to mention, though, really quick with the Bengals is a lot of people are calling out Zach Taylor on his decision to go for the field goal instead of put it in Joe Burrow's hands. I personally would have put it in Joe Burrow's hands, go down with the rookie. But I understand what was going through his mind. Only 7 seconds left We had to make up over 10 yards. We had all the momentum behind us going into overtime. We would likely take the victory in overtime if the field goal is made. Analytics would tell you 1,000% go for the field goal. Don't leave it up to, a 10, 11, 12-yard pass to the end zone on the very last play. So I understand what Zach Taylor did there. It makes sense when you look at it analytically. However, he's getting a lot of heat because he didn't do what a lot of people would have liked to see him do. But it made sense.
Yeah, when you take Joe Burrow first overall, you give him that opportunity. This isn't a game you're expected to win anyway. So I really don't get, I know you want to send it to overtime, you want to play the long game, try to win it. But I hate to break it to you, the NFL is changing very rapidly. Offenses are finally getting more creative. They're finally becoming dynamic. Teams are going for it in these situations way more. And you should go for it in the situation way more. It's for example, they're talking about it in the Broncos game. Going for it on a 4th and 1, the last however many years, I think 20 years, teams get it 60% of the time. Even 5 years ago, teams would have always punted in that situation. Why punt in that situation? It's such short yardage, just go for it. And then in that situation, you got 7 seconds. That's enough time to, snap the ball out of the shotgun, just run, throw it downfield, or not really downfield, but, throw it into the end zone. If the catch is made, great. If it's dropped, then you can try to kick the field goal. They would have been enough time in order to get another playoff, in my opinion, especially when you have a QB like Joe Burrow, who is smart, who is accurate, so he can get that ball off quick too. So I don't know. It was just a soft move, if you ask me.
Here's my problem with that. The average NFL play takes 6 seconds, and with how bad the offensive line is for the Bengals, you would assume a lot of pass rushes coming at Joe Burrow. He's going to have to improvise a little bit if he even wants to get a pass off. I think that takes the 7 seconds up. I think even if it's an incomplete pass downfield, game's over. So I understand Zach Taylor's move. And the Bengals next have the Browns on Thursday night. Then they have Philadelphia the following week. So I see another 2 losses there. And then we got to play the Jags, which I thought was going to be an easy win. But the Jags played really well on Sunday. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But Chase, let's now get into some other games. Texans Chiefs, they were the first game, 34-20. The Chiefs take this one. I don't really want to mention much in this game except for Clyde Edwards-Helaire obviously had a big game, and then the Texans, all of their receivers combined had 13 catches, while DeAndre Hopkins, the parted receiver, had 14 catches alone in his first game. So give me some of your thoughts on Clyde and then the Texans receivers.
So I'll start with the Texans receivers thing real quick. It's just so funny. It's just big old FU to Bill O'Brien in that situation. DeAndre Hopkins, I know it's one game, so it's going to change. But he saw a larger target share there than he did on an average, game by game in Houston when he's on a Cardinals team that has some pretty good receivers. It's just so funny. The Texans, if they had a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, maybe they win that game, honestly. I don't know. It's just my thoughts. But Clyde did look really awesome. I was surprised. I don't want to say I was surprised because I had a feeling he was going to have a good game. I didn't think he was going to top 100 yards. He looked very in control. It was surprising how little targets that he ended up getting in this game. I thought he was going to be a guy who, he would see 15 touches and then see maybe 3-4 targets. But he was obviously had 0 yards in the passing game. It was a weird situation. It's not something I expect going forward. He's going to be an awesome fantasy football player as well as a great football player in general as well. But, some people that drafted early enough, they got him, in the second rounds of their drafts, and he's going to be, this superstar player for you.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you probably want to talk about David Johnson. Let's do it quick, though. He looked good. Is he back to the David Johnson of 2016? I don't know yet. Let's hope he stays healthy and we can continue to see some good play out of him. He was really, outside of Deshaun Watson, the only bright side for this Texans team.
Yeah, I got to agree. He did look pretty promising. If he can, ride this momentum and stay healthy, he could be in for an awesome year because he did look like in 2016. But who knows? It's week 1.
For sure. All right, Chase, I want to mention a couple of games real quick in quick succession. Not games that I really want to dive deep into. If there is one that you would like to dive deep into, let me know. So Patriots beat the Dolphins 21-11. I think Cam Newton looked good. We did not see Tua, and Ryan Fitzpatrick has been named the starter for week 2. Next, we had the Bills and the Jets. Another game that was pretty easily predicted as the Bills get this win 27-17. Josh Allen did play really well this game. It seemed like the whole Bills team kind of slowed down though in the last quarter. So hoping that the Bills can, improve on that and don't go into the turtle because we see how that works with the Lions. Saints, Buccaneers. I know a lot of people are going to be interested in what our thoughts are on Tom Brady. I think this was a pretty predictable game, taking the Saints in this one, 34-23. Both of us got that correct. Tom Brady didn't look great, but honestly, if anyone thought Tom Brady was going to look great in a brand new offense, I'm not sure what your logic is there. He's got to learn a brand new playbook. And he already wasn't a great quarterback at the end of his career in the New England Patriots system.
Yeah, and before I move on to the next game, I do really want to talk about Drew Brees. 18 for 30, 160, and 2. Like, is Drew Brees genuinely done being an elite quarterback in the NFL? He couldn't throw the ball downfield. He was throwing in between the hashes. He was throwing quick routes. He wasn't throwing a lot of deep balls at all. He's looking like an older quarterback. He's 41, if I'm not mistaken. So he's really looking like his age, which is kind of scary. They're putting Taysom Hill in more often. I got a feeling that down the road, if it comes time for a big chunk type of play, they're gonna put out Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston because Drew Brees he just can't do it anymore. He did not look good at all in this game, really.
Yeah, and I think we saw a little bit of this last year too. That's why Michael Thomas had so many receptions, and obviously everyone makes the jokes that, Michael Thomas is an elite receiver because every single one of his catches were only 8-yard slants. Michael Thomas gets injured in this one, so that's going to be tough for the Saints. We'll see what they can do. But let's now move on to our next game, Chase. I want to talk about the Eagles and the Washington football team. You and I both were definitely pulling for the Eagles in this one. And jokingly, I said, Chase, I would assume you take Philly in this one unless you think the Washington football team defensive line has something to say about it. And obviously, that being a joke, you took it in the same matter as a joke. Yeah, we've got egg on our face now.
Yeah, I knew this team was going to have a nice pass rush, but I got to say, I did not expect it to be like this. They were just awesome. I mean, Chase Young is obviously his first career game. He was out there making plays, and the offensive line for the Eagles was just so weak and depleted. They've had a lot of injuries. They've had a lot of tough luck, so you feel for them. But Carson Wentz sacked 8 times on the day. Wow, that 8 sacks is a lot in an NFL football game. If you hear 4 sacks, you're like, oh man, that quarterback got beat up. Now double it, yikes.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Washington football team didn't allow a single point after the first half. Another positive for this team is that Dwayne Haskins apparently made a very inspirational speech to the whole team in the locker room at halftime, and it sounds like he's really taken on a leadership role. He had a solid game, had I think 160, 170 yards and a touchdown, so solid game for a guy that I don't think many people had put their faith in. I know a lot of people talked about maybe Tua getting drafted there to replace Haskins, but Haskins took control of this game, and he looked good, as well as that defense.
Yeah, no, he definitely did look solid, so we'll see what he can do going the rest of the season. Not crazy numbers, but if he can become the guy for them, that's great.
Yeah, for sure. All right, quickly, I forgot to mention the Ravens and the Browns. Not really much to talk about this because the Ravens absolutely steamrolled the Browns 38-6, kind of expected. Baker did not look good, and I think people are starting to realize he's a game manager. You got Kareem Hunt, you got Nick Chubb. if the Browns want to win their games, they're just going to have to run the ball and win it with their defense and the run game, not Baker.
Man, like it was brutal for the Browns because I liked Baker coming in. I didn't love him. I liked him. I thought, okay, he could be a solid NFL QB, do enough to help his team win. Well, clearly I was wrong. Apparently he cannot do enough to help his team win because last year he didn't do a whole lot of nothing. So far he's done a whole lot of nothing. And it sucks because I've got him in one dynasty league, so I want him to do good. But, the passing game couldn't really get it going. The running game was solid, but, when you're trailing by this much, you can't rely on the running game too heavily because eventually that'll just get shut down too when they notice what you're doing. So this was a pretty bad outing by the Browns. I know you said you're kind of expecting a loss this Thursday against the Browns for the Bengals, but I don't know, man. Like, I think the Bengals, they didn't look great, but they've had some plays that are pretty promising, whereas the Browns, not even really so much.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. If the Bengals offense is clicking like they were in the fourth, maybe. But right now, again, I'm not very confident. All right, let's go back to the NFC North. Green Bay at Minnesota. This was an insane game. Just a ton of offense. Aaron Rodgers looks back in his prime. He looks like an MVP caliber player. The Vikings, I didn't really expect Kirk Cousins and the team as a whole to keep up with the Packers, but they did. This game ended 43-34 in favor of the Packers. And to me, my first thought is, oh boy, with these two teams playing with that type of offense, it's going to be tough for the Lions to take this division.
Yeah, the Lions have no chance in this division. Let's be honest. Aaron Rodgers, if he can, he always is good for at least 4 or 5 of these games every year. So this could be just one of those situations, and maybe he's back to what he did last year. But Aaron Rodgers very well could be on this MVP big ol' fuck you to the front office for drafting Jordan Love in the first round, as everyone knew that was a brutal wasted pick. Aaron Rodgers isn't happy about it. That's supposed to be his eventual replacement. But Aaron Rodgers is like, no, this is my team. I'm not giving up this team anytime soon. And he puts on a clinic. If this can be just kind of like a revenge season for him, I guess, and he can dominate, we could be in for some really fun football, as much as I hate the Packers and hate Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely. All right, Chase, we're running on 30 minutes now, so let's talk about 2 more games. We'll talk about the Jags and the Colts, the Panthers and the Raiders, and then we'll get on to predicting week 2. So Jags, Colts first. Jags took this one. Gardner Minshew looked really good. He didn't have 300 yards like you said he was going to. He had, I think, 168, if I'm correct there, somewhere around
73. 173.
Okay, so 173, 3 touchdowns. And then Phillip Rivers, he threw 2 picks. Not a great outing by him as his struggles continue.
Yeah, I mean, I did not think that I don't remember if I predicted Jags or Colts winning on the podcast. Do you remember?
You predicted the Jags.
Okay, good. Because I predicted them on the NFL Player Predictor too. Because I really am not a fan of the Colts this year. I don't think Phillip Rivers is a good quarterback anymore, and I don't like the backup options in Jacoby Brissett and Jacob Eason. It's a guy that I liked in college, but he's not coming with high draft, super high draft capital. He's not expected to really do much year 1 or even year 2 for that matter. So this is going to be a team that's going to have to rely on great blocking and a good run game, and then defense doing well. But Phillip Rivers, he had the yards, but he had the turnovers. He just didn't look awesome to me. I just don't think he has it to really carry this team. So this win for the Jags, as I predicted, does not surprise me at all.
I think this is a coaching thing as well, because Phillip Rivers threw 46 passes. You have Marlon Mack, you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Nyheim Hines. Let's get that rushing game going, Obviously, Marlon Mack goes down with an injury. He's not coming back because of an Achilles tear. Jonathan Taylor is going to be the lead guy. He was drafted in the 2nd round. Let's get that run game going. You've got an amazing offensive line. You don't need to throw that much, especially against the Jags, who have a very depleted front 7 because of all their trades they made, all their stupidity with them shipping out any good player that they have on that team. So I think it's coaching on top of Phillip Rivers struggling in this one. All right, next game, Raiders, Carolina Panthers. This was a game where I predicted the Carolina Panthers. I wasn't very confident in this prediction, but I do love me some Matt Rule. It was a lot closer than I think most people thought. 34-30, the Raiders take this one, and the Panthers did have a chance there at the end. However, Alex Arma cannot convert a 4th-and-1 on their final drive.
This game was closer than I expected too. I thought Derek Carr was going to have it. Like, he didn't have a bad game by any means, but, he was just kind of Derek Carr stat line. I thought he was going to be a little better given the receiving options that he now has. But it was really all about Josh Jacobs. I mean, this dude, 25 attempts for 93 yards. It's only a 3.7 average, which isn't great, but he gets 3 touchdowns. He gets the targets. I don't remember exactly how many he ended up with. It was 4 receptions for 46 yards. I don't know the total targets, but he's finally being used, as this all-around back. He wasn't used like that too much last year. I'm pretty sure the most catches he had in a game last year was only 2 or 3, so this is his career high for receptions in a game. So, this dude's finally just given the reins. When you running the ball that much, 25 times a game, the other team's kind of expecting it. That's why his average was where it was. But he did look really good, and I'm excited to watch him the rest of this year. I'm sure you are as well, given that you have him in your Dynasty League. But, yeah, he could really do some damage this year.
Absolutely, he could, and we didn't really expect much from this Panthers defense. They've got a lot of rookies. They lost Luke Kuechly last year to retirement, so didn't expect much out of them. But I think this offense did surprise a lot of people. Obviously, you got Christian McCaffrey returning, so we all know how good he is. But Teddy Bridgewater, he had a pretty good stat line, 270 yards, 1 touchdown. Robbie Anderson really looked like a star with Teddy Bridgewater. Had one just giant play, but then also collected 5 more receptions outside of that big game. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, they were there, kind of quiet though. Does Teddy Bridgewater favor Robbie Anderson over those guys? If so, that could be a real bad bump for some fantasy players that are owners of DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, I'm not a Curtis Samuel guy, personally, at all, so this isn't really surprising to me. Robbie Anderson is the better wide receiver out of those two, in my opinion. But Robbie Anderson compared to DJ Moore, I'd give that edge to DJ Moore as pretty much anybody else would. But Robbie is a guy that I do love. He did look awesome. I hope he can continue it. He's finally let out of the death grip of what has been the New York Jets, the offense that he's been stuck in for all these years. He's with the Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater isn't some crazy just ball mover down the field, but he was efficient. He did pretty good, 22 for 34, as you mentioned. I hope Robbie Anderson can be that kind of guy this year because I've banked on him a couple years in fantasy. He's always good for, the couple big plays here and there, but can never hold consistency. If he can be consistent with his big play ability, he could be like a legit weapon in the NFL.
Absolutely, and I would love that as well because I have him in my Dynasty League. A couple players tried to snag him from me. However, I held taut, and it's really paying off thus far. All right, Chase, let's now move on to some predictions for next week. I started making an Excel sheet for Chase and I, and anyone else we're going to have on the podcast as a guest in the future. Currently, Chase and I are both 8-8 on predictions. I don't think we saw that coming, but some differences in predictions. I had the Colts, he had the Jags, I had the Panthers, he had the Raiders. So he took a 2-game lead on me there. But on Monday night, I took the Pittsburgh Steelers over the New York Giants. And then, an hour before the Tennessee-Denver game, I decided to switch to Tennessee. And that paid off as well. So we're both 8-8. 50%. We're now going to make our predictions for week 2. I'm going to keep this all tracked down and hopefully make some cool graphics in the future here so we can continue to see what Chase and I are doing in these predictions.
Sounds great.
First up, Cincinnati, Cleveland. This is the Thursday night game in Cleveland. I said earlier, I think Cleveland take this one. What do you say?
Believe it or not, I believe the Bengals are going to actually win this one. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be an actually really entertaining game. It's going to be the only one on TV, so it's going to be the one that people are going to have to watch. I think it's going to actually, pay off pretty well. I think Joe Burrow's going to come out, build off the momentum of the, confidence he was finally starting to really get in that fourth quarter. Throw the ball a little better. Maybe his receivers can get open. Maybe they won't call ticky-tack stuff on AJ Green in the end zone. And I think this Bengals team can come out with a win.
That'd be really cool, but, man, I don't know. It's going to be tough. All right, next game, Jacksonville at Tennessee. Who you got here? You going to stick with your boys?
Nah, I got to go Tennessee in this one. So I'm trying to go as similar as I can to my NFL playoff predictor predictions. I chose Tennessee in this game originally. I'm going to stick that way. They're going to come off of this win in Denver, realizing, wow, we probably didn't deserve to win that. They're going to go back, look at the film, and realize, what they did wrong. They're going to put it together, not be great, but they're definitely going to be solid, enough to the point where Derrick Henry might just have a field day. Derrick Henry might rush for 200 yards because the tackling options for the Jags just aren't very strong, and he's not a dude you take down very easily in the first place, so he legit could just run all over them. So I'm going to go Titans.
I agree with you there. I'm going Titans as well. My gripe on the Colts was that they didn't run the ball enough. They put it in Phillip Rivers' hands too much. I don't think Tennessee is going to have a problem with utilizing that run game.
Not at all.
Carolina at Tampa Bay. This one could be somewhat sneaky. Carolina played very well against the Raiders. Tampa just did not look great against the Saints at all. What say you?
No, give me the Bucs. I have the Panthers being really bad this year for a reason. I don't think the Bucs look great by any means. Mike Evans should be healthy though. They knew he was hurt our last game, the Saints, and it was already a tough matchup as it was. So he just didn't really do a whole lot of anything. Coming into week 2, he might be a little more productive. Maybe even provide just a little bit of a decoy where Chris Godwin and those tight ends can get open. So I'm going the Bucs.
I've got Tampa as well. However, I do think you are sleeping on Carolina a little too much. I think they will bite you in the ass a little bit here. You have them only at 1 win. I think I have them at 5. And I've seen some people have them at 6 or 7, which wouldn't surprise me based on how they played in the first game. But I will follow you and go Tampa as well. Next game, Denver at Pittsburgh. Who you taking?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Steelers in this one. Steelers defense is gonna continue to be good throughout this year. The Broncos, the offense just it isn't enough for me. The running game, they have good talent in the backfield, but the mix just doesn't feel right to me. And then Courtland Sutton was obviously out week 1. He should probably be back week 2. It'd be weird if he wasn't when he was this close to playing in week 1. So Drew Lock will have a little more options spreading the ball around, but I'm still not a huge Drew Lock guy, as you guys have heard multiple times on this podcast. He made some throws today that really solidified that thought for me. But we'll see how the year goes. But I gotta go with the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm going Pitt in this one too. The Broncos didn't look good enough against the Titans. I think the Steelers have a better defense. But then again, the Steelers, their offense wasn't great either. That run game, Benny Snell did help it a little bit. James Conner, he's out with an injury. Who knows if he's going to be ready for the next game. And then the wide receivers, they were all right. What makes me happy, though, Juju, he looks to be a fantasy relevant player once again.
Oh, Juju is going to be awesome for fantasy this year. He looks like he's having fun again, which is awesome for Juju because you could tell last year he did not enjoy playing football. He loves having Big Ben because when you go from Big Ben, who is at the tail end of his career, of course, but Big Ben to Duck Hodges or even Mason Rudolph, it's a huge difference. So Juju's happy to have his guy back. He's locked in for 1,000 yards healthy. I would put down so much money on that, and he'll probably surplus that 1,000 yards by a decent bit too.
Yeah, and you saw at the end when Big Ben was given an interview, Juju came over, all smiles. He said, "That's my quarterback."
Love that.
So he is loving having Big Ben back, and I'm loving having him on my fantasy team.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Chase. LA Rams, they go to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. The Eagles disappointed, and the Rams got a big win over the Cowboys, which we expected the Cowboys to take that one. Your thoughts on this one between LA and Philadelphia?
So I'm still going to go Philly. Philly will be back at home. They're going to be able to gather the things. They should have Miles Sanders back, and Miles Sanders makes a big difference in this offense. I like Boston Scott a lot. I'm a big Boston Scott guy, but I don't think Boston Scott should ever be the lead running back. He's an awesome change of pace, play the Darren Sproles role, but if he has to be the guy, you're going to get stopped. He's really short. He's not built to just dominate on the field. He's built to help you, get some chunk plays and be reliable in the passing game and be a good change of pace guy. So Miles Sanders will be back. It'll really help the Eagles. Carson Wentz should be able to stay on his feet more, hopefully not get sacked 8 times, and I'm going the Eagles.
I am taking the LA Rams in this one. From what I know, the Eagles are not expecting a new offensive lineman to be back next week. A tough outing against the Redskins or against the football team, like we were mentioning earlier. And now they have to go up against Aaron Donald, arguably the best offensive lineman in the league. So I've got a loss for Philly on this one. I think Robert Woods looked absolutely phenomenal for the Rams. If he can keep that going as well as Cooper Kupp, this could be a decent team. Maybe the Rams get back to their winning ways. However, I'm still a little bit down on them, but not for week 2.
There's a reason I drafted Robert Woods where I did in fantasy leagues this year, because he's going to be awesome.
All right, Chase, San Francisco at the New York Jets. I'm assuming you are taking the Jets all the way on this one.
Jets are putting up 70. The Niners are getting negative points. Move on. God, no. Adam Butthole Gase. If I could go back and redo my predictions based on what I saw in week 1, I might make the Jets the worst team in the NFL this year. I like Sam Darnold, and I think none of this is his fault. It's just no weapons around him. The worst coach in the NFL is at the helm. I feel bad for him, because there's a chance that if they do bad and Adam Gase gets fired, new coach comes in and wants to get his guy, and they move on from Sam Darnold, and I would assume he would get a starting gig somewhere else, but maybe he doesn't. He might get a different type of Josh Rosen type treatment. But the Jets, they looked, oh god, they look so bad. They're gonna be so bad. So give me the 49ers by a lot.
Yeah, and the one thing that sucks for them as well is they're missing Denzel Mims, a second-round wide receiver that you and I both absolutely adore.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Super unfortunate for the Jets. They got another tough one. I'm going 49ers as well. I mean, obviously, I think this one could be by 3 scores. Even though the 49ers dropped their first one against the Arizona Cardinals, it's not going to be pretty for the Jets.
And that's because the Cardinals are a sneaky playoffs / Super Bowl contender team this year, and I had thoughts about that coming into the year. My predictions didn't really have that end up happening, but I still thought this is the one team that I think could easily surpass my predictions and end up being a legit team. Okay. So keep your eye on the Cards.
Okay, calm the hell down. A playoff team, maybe. A Super Bowl contender, get the fuck out of here. Absolutely not. It's way too early. Moving on. From that stupidity, that was terrible, Chase. Buffalo at Miami. I assume you are taking your Bills in this one.
Yeah, I'll go with Bills in this one. I'm not really going to pick the Dolphins in any matchup until Tua goes in, just because, if Fitzmagic can't get it done in week 1, then he's not getting it done at all, and he didn't get it done in week 1. So I'm going to pretty much go against the Dolphins, so they put Tua in. I'm not even a big Tua guy, but I think he just, adds a different dynamic to that offense. So whenever they go to him, then sure, but no, Bills.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going with the Bills as well. Next one, Minnesota at Indianapolis. Lucas Oil Stadium is the setting for this one, as the Minnesota Vikings absolutely destroy the Colts in my mind.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty... I don't think it's going to be destroyed. I think it's going to be a closer game than you think it is, but it's still going to be a pretty one-sided affair. The Vikings are going to look better, but I'm obviously huge on Jonathan Taylor. I think early in the game, he really kind of dominates given the lead, but the team ends up just struggling in the second half, and they have to go away from that and try to throw the ball and struggle. So that's kind of my thoughts, but yeah, Vikings as well.
All right, Detroit at Green Bay. Earlier when I mentioned this game, you said 0-2, so I assume you're taking Green Bay.
Yeah, dude. Green Bay looked way too good, and the Lions choked yet again. I can't realistically choose the Lions in this game.
Absolutely. Green Bay for me as well. I think Aaron Rodgers continues his hot streak going into week 2 because I just don't think the Lions have it. Is Coleman out? I know Justin Coleman got injured in that game. Do we know his timetable? I haven't really kept up with that.
No, I haven't seen anything yet, so there could have been something that I missed, but I have not seen anything yet. I would assume he's gonna be not out extremely long, but if the case is he is out long and Trufant doesn't play and Okuda still doesn't play, then oh my god, it's gonna be Amani Oruwariye and Tony McRae in the backfield. Holy hell.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one for sure. All right, moving on. Atlanta at Dallas. This game, what are your thoughts?
Man, these are two teams that are just great for fantasy. The Falcons defense is so shit. They're so bad. It is comical. they're going to put up offensive numbers. All their options are going to look great. I think that Matt Ryan's going to be awesome. Todd Gurley is going to get rushing attempts and targets. And then the main receiving options and Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and Hayden Hurst, even though he did disappoint this week. I think all those guys are going to be awesome. But the Cowboys are still going to win by probably 10 points because the Cowboys offense is just going to be better due to the Falcons' horrible defense.
I'm giving this one to Atlanta. I think that Atlanta is a better team than the LA Rams, honestly. I like their offense better. And yes, their defense isn't as good as the LA Rams defense, but they do have some good players there, obviously. Deion Jones, Keanu Neal, a couple other guys. I'm really hoping that we can see the kid out of Clemson. Gosh, why am I forgetting his name right now? The corner.
AJ Terrell.
AJ Terrell. I'm really hoping we can see him get some playtime somewhat soon. And hey, I'm excited about him. I think he could be a really good one for years and years to come. Yeah, I go Atlanta in this one. I'm going to go a shootout as well, but I'll have Atlanta taking it like 35-29, something weird like that.
29.
Yeah, something weird. All right, Giants at the Chicago Bears. This one, two teams that both were pretty disappointing in their debut. Even though the Bears came off with a victory, it wasn't a good one.
No, their only good quarter of football was the fourth quarter, and I think they're going to have zero good quarters of football in this game. Give me the Giants in this one. I don't think it's going to be a huge gap. I think the Giants offense will do better than they did this week. They might put up anywhere from like 28 to 31 points. I think that's probably the pretty safe range. Maybe they put up a little more. I doubt they put up less. So give me the Giants, and then the Bears just disappoint. Other than Allen Robinson, in terms of fantasy, I would just not start a single Bears player just because I don't trust any Bears offensive player at this point except for Robinson.
I'm taking the Giants in this one as well, but I think it's going to be on the lower half of the scoring, scale. I don't think the Giants are going to put up the same amount of points as they did against the Steelers. I think the Bears defense is really good, and I mean, we've been talking about it all offseason. I'm not a fan of the Giants. But a quick thing I wanted to bring up is Mitchell Trubisky in week 1, quarters 1 through 3, he had a 46 completion percentage and a 65 passer rating, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. In the fourth quarter, 80% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 143 passer rating. So is Trubisky the new clutch god of the NFL?
No.
Oh, okay. I hope they put Nick Foles in sometime. I want to see what he can do.
So do
Trubisky did not look good until that fourth quarter, and I don't really put that on Trubisky. I put that on Patricia.
Yeah, 100%. Trubisky did nothing spectacular in that game. The Lions are just a bunch of pieces of shit.
Washington at Arizona. Will Kyler Murray face 8 sacks in this game? Will Washington take home their second victory and continue to lead the NFC East?
No, the Cardinals are going to look awesome, and the Cardinals are going to win. Kyler Murray is going to keep doing things not to the level Lamar Jackson last year, but he's going to go on, that early season stretch similar to Lamar last year, where he's running the ball, he's throwing it well. Like, Kyler's going to be awesome this year. He's got some favorable matchups. This is one of those favorable matchups. With his speed, even though the pass rush is going to be getting to him, he's going to be able to escape the pocket so well that he's going to turn those into plus like running plays. And he already ran the ball so well in week 1 that he's in for a huge fantasy week and just a huge football week in general. So give me the Cards by a little bit.
I agree. I'm taking the Cards in this one. I am very excited to see what Chase Young and the rest of that defensive line can do to this Cardinals offensive line with Kyler, hidden behind them because of how small he is. But I think it's a game to watch. However, I go Cards as well. Chiefs at the LA Chargers in the new stadium. We saw it against we saw the Rams against Dallas in the new stadium on Sunday night. It looked nice, and we're going to see it again with the Chiefs and the Chargers. This one, easy Chiefs victory for me. What say you?
Yeah, it's going to be an easy Chiefs victory. I really would not be surprised if Herbert plays at some point in this game because Tyrod Taylor was just like ugly, horrible in week one, and he's going to struggle yet again against the Chiefs. So why not throw Herbert and see what he can do? Because you don't want to just go 0-16 or just have some really bad year. You still want to compete even if you're in kind of a rebuild type of process like the Chargers somewhat are, thanks to injuries and just drafting a quarterback pretty high. But like throw Herbert in there at some point because Tyrod Taylor is not going to have a good week. He's going to struggle yet again, and just give your high draft pick the chance.
Yeah, I'd love to see Herbert come in. The funny thing for me is Colin Cowherd, he was talking about Joe Burrow. He said that he thought Joe Burrow looked better than Tyrod Taylor, who's the vet in the NFL, where Joe Burrow, it was his debut. So not a great look for Tyrod. If Herbert comes in, that would be awesome because I know you and I both just absolutely adore that kid. All right, Baltimore at Houston. Does Baltimore continue to look as dominant as they did this past Sunday?
Man, I like the Texans, so it sucks to say this, but they are really going to be bad this year. Like, it's just Deshaun Watson and maybe David Johnson. This defense is not going to be able to do enough. Like, the run game, this is going to be a very heavily run game for the Ravens, in my opinion. I think the combination of Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, and J.K. Dobbins, those three are just going to run all over this Texans D. It won't be a heavy passing game. There'll still be some passing, of course. There always is. But the Texans don't have a chance in this.
I agree. I absolutely love the Ravens in this one. J.K. Dobbins, we saw him get his first career touchdown last Sunday. It was awesome because I love J.K. Dobbins. And, man, I'm really missing the J.K. all day commentary. But, hopefully we get that back sometime soon. Baltimore in this one over Houston. New England at Seattle for our Sunday night game. Can Cam continue to look good? Or does Russ continue to look like an MVP?
I want to see the Patriots just to disagree with you because I'd be shocked if you don't choose the Seahawks, but I can't go against the Seahawks. Russ, that might have been one of the best games he ever played in his career week one. He looks so good. And, we heard that quote in the offseason that the Seahawks just need to let Russell Wilson cook, let him loose. And you look at his career and be like, wait, Russell Wilson hasn't been let loose yet? So Russell Wilson is the easy preseason pick for MVP. He's gonna have just a ridiculous season. If he keeps looking even similar to what he did week one, he's gonna be unstoppable. So I gotta go Seahawks.
Yep, I agree with you there. And Chris Carson looked absolutely phenomenal as well. It looks like he added the receiving game to his repertoire. As I think there was a stat out there. I could be quoting it wrong, but I think the stat was like 2 receiving touchdowns in his whole career. And he had 2 receiving touchdowns just in this game. I think that was a stat. I don't know. Look it up. But yeah, Chris Carson looks great. Russell Wilson looked great. Jamal Adams, he came out and said that it was an absolute blast on the sideline being able to see your own team actually be able to score, taking a little shot at the Jets. Final game, New Orleans at Oakland. Who takes this one?
You know what? Just for the hell of it, let's be different. Just give me the Raiders. They're going to be at home. Derek Carr, he's going to have a very nice game. Josh Jacobs is going to continue to dominate, and Drew Brees is just going to struggle because he really is scaring me after this Week 1 performance. So give me the Raiders.
All right, I'm going the Saints on this one. I think the team overall just isn't very close. I think the Raiders' defense is pretty poor. We saw that against the Panthers on Sunday. I almost called them the Cardinals. Against the Panthers on Sunday, we saw that the Oakland defense was pretty poor. So I think Drew Brees, even though he's not at his peak, I think he still dismantles the defense because of just how smart he is. His changes at the line of scrimmage, he can do a lot of damage there. And then I think the Saints can not shut down the Raiders offense, but can definitely hold them better than the Panthers did. So give me the Saints in that game. Final game. Chase, you and I have 1, 2, 3 differences this week. 4 differences this week. And that is New Orleans and Oakland, Atlanta and Dallas, LA and Philly, and then Cleveland and Cincinnati. So one of us could definitely take a big lead. Or if it works out like it did last week, then I'm going to win 2 of them, you're going to win 2 of them, and we're going to be tied again.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope someone takes the lead for something. I don't care who, just somebody takes the lead for now.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm thinking you can take the Cincinnati victory because I would love for my Bengals to win, but then I'll take the other.
Shut up.
I'll take the other 3.
Just shut the hell up.
I'll take the other 3 and be in the lead big time.
Man, that's so generous of you.
No problem. I'm a generous host. I like to help out others on the podcast, of course.
You're the worst.
Thank you. All right. That is it for the episode. If you guys want to stay up to date with all that we do, you can follow us at WNP Sports Pod on Twitter, at WNP Sports Pod on Twitter. If you didn't know, we do a hockey podcast as well at Bolts Broadcast. You can find that on Twitter. We're everywhere: Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. You can find us really anywhere. And we got a merch store for that too. So if you want to check out some of our merch, go over at Bolts Broadcast on Twitter. You can check that out. If you're listening on YouTube, if you could please give us a like, a comment, and make sure to hit that notification bell. Also subscribe, why not? That'd be really cool. If you're listening anywhere else, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, all of those crazy ones, rate us 5 stars, please. Thank you. Again, Twitter at WNP Sports Pod. This is it's taken forever. It's 2:30 in the morning. I am sweating my ass off, and we're ready to go. Thanks so much for listening, guys. And as always, we're not professionals.